Good day everyone, we are here to present our topic, the nature and effect of plant pests and diseases. So, what is plant pest? Plant pests and pathogens interfere with the growth and causes damage to cultivate and naturally growing plants. The interfere and damage result in the failure of plants to reach their genetic potential. Also, a consequence, it is estimated that pre- and post-harvest pests and diseases destroy at least 30 to 40% of global agricultural production. Losses are greater in less developed countries where the adoption and implementation of high input management is lower, and weather conditions may be more conducive. In addition, in their efforts to manage or control pests and disease, humans spend a great deal of time and money developing and applying new pesticides. So next, for what we research all about, there are pests and its type. A pest is any organism that spread disease, causes destruction or otherwise a nuisance. Some examples of pests are mosquitoes, rodents, and weeds, but not all insects are pests. Many different kinds of insects eat their insect, and there are beneficial species. So, what are the harmful effects of pests? All pests leave behind fecal matter and shed skin that can go airborne and contaminate the air of you and your family breath. So here are the different types of pests that affect agricultural crops. Insect pest of vegetable. First is the aphids, caterpillars, cutworms, grasshopper and locutus, thrips, weevils, white flies, mites, and etc. Next is effects of crop pests, agricultural or crop production. First is insect pests of crops destroy crops in the fields through their biting, chewing, boring, sucking, and defoliation activities. Also, insect pests of crops can also cause reduction in viability to stored refuse, like produce stored in the borne of soil. As one of the effects of crop pests, we can say that spotting of injuries by insect may predispose crops to disease attacks. And due to the damage caused by insect pests of crops, they invariably increase the cost of production during the course of controlling it. Crop pests will always render vegetable and fruit unattractive and unmarketable. Also, the most major crop pests are carriers or vectors disease. And during the whole year around, profit of farmers are reduced tremendously because tend of sending excess money beyond their budget in order to control infection caused by pests of crops. Next is crop pests may reduce quality produce in their store in the field as time essential. Also, pests of crops generally reduce yields of crops. Last is naturally when you have a crops in great attacks. The effect of pests in agriculture and crop production. The impact of plant disease, pest effect in vegetable, impact of pest diseases in crop production, and the last is effect in plant disease for agricultural. Next is effect of pests on crops. Pest refers to any animals or plant causing harm or damage to people or their animals, crops, or possessions. Even it only causes annoyance. Pests belonging to a broad spectrum of organisms including insects, mites, ticks, and other arthropods, like mice, rats, and other rodents like slugs, snails, nematodes, cestodes, and other parasite weeds like fungi, bacteria, viruses, and the other pathogens. There are 5 types effect of pests in crops. First is quality and quantity reduction. It is reduce the produce quality and quantity as they eat up the produces on the farm, even as storage. Next is disease vectors. It is most insect pests or disease carriers. Example include aster yellows, beet curly top, blueberry stunt, and dwarf disease of rice. Next is reduced rate of photosynthesis. It is larvae or insect pests eat up the leaves and stem of plants, thereby reducing the plant rate of photosynthesis. Next, pest reduces farmers' incomes. It infested crops and other plants eaten by pests usually have low market value, which reduces the farmer's income. So the last is high cost of production. So it is the cost of controlling and preventing pest infestation increase the farmer cost of production and share this. Here are the example of managing pest and plant disease. First, plant diseases, saving seeds, safe food storage, raising animals, fishing farming, marketing farm product, farmer field school, sustainable farming in the city, and the last is planting trees and crop together. Managing pest and plant disease. Pest, plant disease, and weeds can be serious threat to the crops. Chemical companies say the only solution is to spray pesticide regularly. Even if you are willing to use pesticide, it is still important to know if pests are harming your crops, how much damage is being done. Also, you can decide if and when to use chemicals and what kind to use. The best way to control both pests and diseases is to keep plant healthy. Build healthy soil. Healthy soils provide a home to friendly insects and help prevent many plant diseases. Plant resistant varieties. Ask farmers or extension agents about seeds to make sure that ones you choose are resistant to common pests and disease. Space plant correctly. Planting crops too close together limits the sunshine and air that reaches the leaves. Plants at the right times. Planting earlier than usual can make sure crops are big enough to resist pests or disease that come at a certain time. Plant a variety of crops and change crop patterns. Large areas with only one kind of plant attract pests who like that plant. Water from below. Watering from above can cause disease that live in a soil to flush onto plants. Using drip irrigation or flood irrigation can keep plant leaves and stem healthy. Look for pests. They cause little harm to crops as long as they remain in balance with other types of insects, especially those that eat pests. It is a pest, a friend, or harmless. Worms are important for health soil bees, spiders, and most insects that live in water, like such as in rice paddies, are friends and help control pests. We have the main ways pests damage crops are by sucking the liquid from them and by eating them. First is sap sucker. Includes aphids, scales, insect, and mealybugs, leaf and plant hoppers, whiteflies, thrips, mites, and nematodes. Second is plant-eating insects. Includes caterpillars, slugs, snails, plant and pod borers. If it is a pest, how can get rid of it? The answer to this question, it can help know how to control a pest. Where does it come from? When does it damage crops? Does it appears in one form and then change to another form? It is a food for birds, other insect, or field creature. So once you know how the pests damage crops, you can use the natural pesticides made for that kind of pest. Spray with natural pesticides. Natural pesticides prevent crop damage with much less harm to people and the environment than chemical sprays. They are easy to make and cost less than chemicals. The natural pesticides for plant-eating insects. First is to collect the plant you want to use. Let it dry and grind the dried plant to a powder. Second is soak the powder in water overnight. 1 handful of powder to 1 liter of water. Next, pour the mixture through a screen or cloth to remove solids. And add a little bit of mild soap to help the pesticide stick to plants. Spray to sprinkle the mixtures on plants and test your mixture on one or plant first. If it seems to hurt the plants, it may be too strong, and more water and test it until it seems good. Repeat as needed and after it rains. Natural pesticide for sapsucker insect. Sapsucker insects are killed by coating them with mild soap or oil that blocks their breathing holes. Do not use detergents or strong soap because they damage plant, soils, and insect. So, for the other natural pesticide, ang urine. Diluted in water and spray on plants kills pests. Mix 1 cup of urine with 10 cups of water. Let it sit in a closed container for 10 days, and after 10 days, spray the mixture onto your crops. So for the tobacco, it kills many pests. Boil 1 cup of tobacco leaves or cigarette butts in 5 liters of water. It will damage this plant and will not kill most pests that attack to them. So the next is physical method of pest control. There are many ways to control pests or to encourage predators and parasites based on their habits and life cycle. Talk to other farmers to learn about method they use. Animals and insects. To scare off birds, they are eating crops. Some farmers hang shiny things such as shiny paper, tape from old cassette tapes, and scrap of metal near crops. Next, some physical method of pest control. To control fruit flies, put some rotting fruits in plastic bottle with fruit fly size holes in it. Hang it from fruit tree. You want to protect about 6 weeks before the fruit will be ripe. And the flies will fly in but will not be able to get out. Next, illustration of the below. A bottle hanging from a tree line. Make a few small holes in the bottle fruit fly trap. Many small wasps feed on pollen and attack pests. Growing flowering plants that make lots of pollen will attract these wasps, and the wasps will protect crop from the pest. Also, tall trees planted around your field can stop locusts or make them pass over your field. Trees also provide shelter for useful insects. So for the ants, are the fierce predators. If your crop are attacked by grubs, sprinkle sugar water on the stems of harvest tubers. So for the change crop pattern, crop in the same plant family can get the same pests and diseases. For example, if you always plant potatoes in the same field, potatoes beetles may come to live and breed in that field. But if every 3 years you plant something they cannot eat, the beetles will live or die. So this is the called crop rotation. 2 ways to prevent disease and pests are to rotate crops and to plant a variety of crops together. Next is rotate crops. Rotating crops or changing the crops you grow in a particular field, it controls diseases and pests by depriving them of food. It will also improve the soil by adding different nutrients. For the example, rotating grains in one season with beans in the next will make the soil richer. Grains grow tall and provide organic matter, while beans add nitrogen to the soil. So let's move to the plant a variety of crops together. Planting different types of crops provides places for useful insects to live and make it harder for pests to find the crop they like to eat. Growing many types of crops also improves food security because if one crop fails, there are others to use. Planting different crops next to each other protects against pests in these ways. First is some strong smelling herbs and vegetables keep away pests. Second is some flowers attract predators that eat pests. Last is some plants like trap pests, and this is the opposite idea from keeping pests away. If you plant something that pests like better than your crop, stay on the trap plant and leave your crop alone. Next is modeling the impact of pests and diseases in agriculture system. So, area of improvements. First is quality and availability of model inputs. So, sa quality and availability of model inputs, nakapaloob po dito yung meteorological variables and canopy scales and at high time resolution. Deep witness observation, evaluation of weather model accuracy to estimate early data. Next is quality of model evaluation. Protocols to guide the collection of experimental data and the type of data set for pest and disease model evaluation. Next is integration with crop models. So dito nakapaloob ang analysis of the mechanism of damage of the pest or disease, coupling points between pest and disease and crop model, time step of the communication. And for the model evaluation, it comparison of weather models, comparison of pest or diseases models, and comparison of yield loss models. And the last for community for model development, creation of specialized sub-teams, facilitate improvements in pest disease models. And the last is to improve the communication between pest and disease models. So for the last slide we have, here are the modeling the impact of pest and disease on agricultural system. So that's all for now and thank you.